Well, hi everyone, this is Caroline.
And this is Kurt.
And welcome to our podcast, The Business of
Christmas.
Thanks for joining us today. How are you doing today, Caroline?
I'm doing good. We are definitely ramping up into our busy season. And I know I've been with you for a while today and your phone is ringing off the hook too. So I love it when we start to see the energy build and build and build and build. We're not quite at crazy time right now, but the orders are coming in daily, so I'm happy.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've been talking about what are some other things that would be helpful for our listeners, and hopefully you guys will find this useful. But we said we'd talk about
things to help you save time. So one of my biggest things when I talk at industry events, for me, it's all about labor. What can you save time on from a labor point of view? Labor is very expensive and labor is hard to find. So any shortcuts you take is really good. So it just kind of made me think about a few things that we do here at Seasonscapes and a few tools that we use to really, really help us. Not that these are right or wrong, so you certainly feel free to disagree, but some things that we've adapted over the years to really help us save time. So that's what I want to kind of get into on today's episode.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And where do you want to start? You've got several items here, it looks like.
I want to start, first of all, which was a game changer. For anybody that already uses this, you know that this is a game changer. And these are ornaments. And here we have a 6-inch platinum glitter that are pre-drilled. And I know that the camera may not show it up, but anybody in the Christmas business is going to know the difference. So for years and years and years, when we got ornaments, we had one person, it was one person's full-time job, to drill through the ornament with a little Dremel drill and then put the wire on. Now, for the last few years, many companies are now doing pre-drilled, which means as soon as they come out of the bag, you can attach them to the tree by the 2 pieces of wire that are coming off. So there's no gluing, there's no pre-drilling. But I do know there's some people out there that don't know about pre-drilled ornaments yet because not everybody sells them. And I think maybe Vickerman was one of the first companies to do it. If I'm not right, if I'm right or wrong, I'm not sure. But these are great. They're really strong. They're on a shatterproof ornament, and then all you have to do is tie them in to the branch. So you're only attaching the ornament one time. You're not having to glue it or drill it or anything. So for us, this was a huge game changer.
That's fantastic. Let me get a snapshot of that. I'm going to share it on the screen closer.
Okay.
And post-production, let's see here. Thanks. Let me get one more angle. It's great. Thank you.
What I also like is initially it was just the glitter, the shiny, and the matte, and the standard colors. But now you can get all kinds of ornaments that are pre-drilled. Just be really careful when you're ordering from a catalog or if you go to market, you need to kind of lift them up because sometimes they look pre-drilled and they're really not. And I'd hate for you to order 1,000 ornaments where you've got to pre-drill them yourself. But there's a lot of different ornaments now. Like this one here, we call this, it's more textured. It's got like a hail crystal finish. And these are pre-ordered, just like the different shapes that we have up here in the tree. So we only buy pre-drilled ornaments, saves us hours.
Well, I will say in the Vickerman catalog, we're very specific about which ones are drilled, and there'll be a D in the item number. And it's in the description as well. So we do have quite a few that are drilled.
Nice. Yeah, nice. And I see every year when I go to your showroom, I see more and more options for that. So I think that's really, it's really nice.
Absolutely.
You certainly listen to the customer.
Absolutely.
So the second thing that was kind of a game changer for us was the ball picks. And this is a pick that this one has, and none are created equally, right? Depending on your vendor. This one has 4 branches, and then on there are different size ornaments. And in this case, I think these are probably 60s and 60 centimeters and probably a 20 centimeter is my guess. But again, this is something that you can put directly into the tree. So it takes up a lot of space. So you're not individually putting ornaments on. These are also great for putting in the top of the tree as well and helping with the, the tree topper effect, because you can put that in, takes a lot of space, and it gives a lot of visual interest. So, and again, they come in, so I've seen them in multicolors. I mean, this is just champagne shades, shiny and matte, but you can get some with glitter. It just depends what you want to order. Or if you need a lot, you can actually order the colors that you want as long as you reach the MLQ.
And just to bring it back around, you do see it as a time saver, correct? That's
absolutely
right.
Absolutely. I mean, you think if you are going to be putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 ornaments on, compared to like one piece, it's a huge time savings. So huge. We also use them in our garlands when we're decorating garlands, like in the middle if we have a central bow. So this is a really, really good piece that we use. The third item I want to show you is...
Here, I'll take that.
Oh, thank you. The third item is kind of going along the same lines, and these have got very popular with decorators. I see a lot of people buy them, is the ball garland. Now, depending on your vendor, they come in different sizes. We bring in the 36-inch ones, so we don't have to cut them. But again, as you can see, there's 2 different size ornaments on here. And we use these on everything. You can very easily tuck those into a wreath.
Sure.
Yeah. You can lay them through a tree. You can lay them. We use them on all of our the majority of our garlands we use. And so again, the time saving where you save your labor is you're not individually wiring ornaments on.
Sure.
Yes, they're going to be a little bit more pricey, right, than like an individual ornament, but you've got to kind of take several things into account. You've got to take the cost of the individual ornament and then the cost of your labor to put everything on. That's something that we could probably talk about, Kurt, like for a whole episode, is really calculating your labor and making sure you're charging for your appropriate, times that...
Absolutely. And we'll definitely dig into that. I think it's for those people that are not watching, but just listening, what are the sizes on this 36-inch ball garland?
36-inch, and this ball garland, I think they're probably 60 millimeter and probably a 20 millimeter. But I've seen them. You can get them with, like a 4-inch ornament and a 3-inch, or a 4-inch and a 2-inch. It really depends. And again, if you're buying a large enough quantity, you can have them made right you want.
Sure, and up to 6 inches. I think from the perspective of the the wholesaler, they do get expensive at that length. Right. Yeah. So Vickerman carries them in 10 feet with certain size balls and 6 feet as well. But it does get very expensive when you get larger on those. It does, right? And maybe it costs, a time saver. And so you have to take that into account, right, at the end of the day.
Absolutely. This one is at 36, and this one, this actually comes from direct export. So this is something we bring in on our containers because we buy so many of them. But again, huge game changer for us. We do a lot of large runs of like 200 pieces of garland at a time, or, 100 wreaths. And when we're in that manufacturing kind of like process, one person is literally putting that in, and then another person could be finishing off the wreath. So again, I'm going to keep saying it a lot, but it's like a huge time saver for us.
Great. Here, I'll take it.
There you go. Now, the other thing I want to touch on is, and some of you may know what this is, and some of you may not. I'm going to give you that ornament so it's out of the way. And I do not know what this is called. I call it a stem cutter.
Well, it's going to be a stem cutter today.
Stem cutter. It's a stem cutter. But I've had a lot of people visit my location and just seen this and...
Oops.
Bouncing ornaments, guys. Bouncing.
They're shatter resistant.
Yeah, exactly. Did it break?
It did not.
Oh, there you go.
Of course not.
It's working. So what this is, and we use this a lot, is often when you're purchasing items, the stems are too long. I'm going to let you hold the weight on this.
Sure.
It's pretty heavy. I'm going to take a stem. So in this case, you've got a beautiful stem. This is a piece that we use in our tops of our trees, but sometimes the stems are way too long to put in on the branch. So this you can actually put in. I don't know if you can hold it.
I can.
There we go. So within like 2 seconds, we've taken off the surplus stem, and now we're ready to use this on the tree. So there's nothing worse than looking into a tree and seeing a lot of like stems kind of in the tree. It's like, how do you tuck them away? So if you can cut off what you don't need first, it saves
It's a great point.
time.
So what's the benefit of using this versus hand shears of some sort, hand cutters?
I mean, this has got wire running through. If you
Sure.
start using, wire cutters, pliers, whatever you want to call them, it can. I mean, you can sometimes put 3 or 4 branches into that and do several at the same time, depending on how thick the spray
Got it.
is. But another thing that, again, what we do, and I'm just kind of giving everybody in the audience ideas, is when our products come in, they're generally packed in boxes and they generally have cellophane. And then generally every single one has a SKU on there, right? Like a price tag, because really they make these for retail, right? Not so much for us, commercial people. So there's a lot of work that goes to this as far as taking the plastic off, cutting the tag off, and cutting it. So when we get boxes in our downtime during the year, we have people that prepare all of these and pre-do this. So we're taking ornaments out of plastic bags, so we don't have to do it in our busy season. We're cutting stems to the size that we need. So it means that when we actually pull our recipe kit for our trees or our wreaths, all of the prep work is done. Again, it's, are you going to do it when it's quiet?
Right.
It's a perfect time to do it, right? If you're employing people, you don't want them sitting around to do anything, because, prepping decor and taking ornaments out of bags is extremely time consuming. Anybody that's in this business and watching it knows that. So anything you can do first to be prepared is, highly recommended, highly recommended. The other thing that we use, and I know you just took it from me, Kurt, so the wire is on the floor.
Yes.
The floor.
Yes.
He's dropped it.
Here we go.
And again, not everybody does this, but we use the florist gauge wire. If anybody needs to know the gauge, let me know.
I'm going to ask the gauge. So I definitely want to put it on the screen. So we'll
screen for everybody what gauge we use. But we buy this pre-cut. We get this from our florist, our wholesale florist, comes in boxes, and we actually store them together. And this is what we put, with the exception of the ornaments, this is what we use to fix the fillers, any of the ribbon bows. This is what we use, as this wire.
That's fantastic.
Some people use zip ties. People use zip ties, right?
This is more convenient. You're not going to see this, I think, in the tree.
Well, the other thing is less expensive than a zip tie.
Well, yes. So when you're talking about cost, I think zip tie would be definitely more expensive than this. What I like about this gauge is it feels easy to work with, but still strong. I've used some floral wire similar to this, but just a little bit thicker gauge, and it's more difficult to work with.
Yeah.
So this is fantastic. And then I've seen the thinner. I've had it as well, and you can't use it on anything with worrying about it breaking. But this is perfect. So the gauge is going to be important for us. Absolutely.
That's on the screen.
Okay.
For
Yes.
everybody to see that. But what I like is it's pre-cut in these. I think it's an 18-inch stem. So we don't even have to cut this. It's just ready to go. So again, something else that we do that saves somebody physically doing something before we put our hands on it. Our goal is to not keep going back to the tree or the item we're decorating and keep doing things. So for instance, and we're a little bit different here, I think, because we kind of class ourselves as a manufacturer. We have all of the pieces in the warehouse and we put them all together. So if we've got somebody that's decorating a tree, they do not go into the aisles and pull product. We have somebody called a picker, and it's their job to pick the recipe for the tree, put it all in a box, and the box goes to the tree.
Right.
The decorator doesn't move from the tree. Their job is to, perform their great skills and wire everything on, and then the tree is ready for boxing. So, at one time we had people going to pick their own items out, and it just became a mess. Things weren't being put, if you can imagine. And, also teaching people where every product is. We carry thousands of SKUs in our warehouse. So it's really important how we organize. And we'll look at that one day as far as how we organize and group everything together in the warehouse, because that might help people. But from a decorating point of view, I think these items that I've shown and these were the ones I could just think of quickly, but these are the ones that have kind of been developed over the last few years that have really helped us, people in the commercial industry, save time. And sometimes you're paying a little bit more money on the upper end, but it's
Right.
the labor that's huge.
Absolutely.
And, of course, and then if you're reusing any of these items, all you're undoing is the wire, and then they can go back into stock again. So
I think some of these techniques are really useful, even if you have to do it on site versus pre-decorate. So having everything pulled out of the boxes, out of the bags, ready to go in a box, organized in that fashion, even by tree in the space where you're going, will save you a tremendous amount of time. You may be adding ornamentation to a tree that's already pre-decorated, and you have to have that ready to go with the extra supplies that you have. So I think it works in that situation as well. Yeah.
I know, I follow a lot of people on Instagram that are residential decorators,
Right.
And, you kind of see how they store and, organize their stuff. And it's generally in totes. We don't use totes here. We're kind of a little too big for totes. It would be extremely expensive. But most people that go to residence take their totes. They're already kind of set up and ready to go. And it works really, really well for them. So, organization is the key, and if you are decorating on site, you don't want to ever have to go back to your warehouse or your storage unit to take things out. So, making sure that you have everything
Right.
you need on the job is so.
I think we can cover that in a different podcast, but probably somebody with that experience would be great to cover that because it gets expensive when you have to go back as well. So thank you so much for covering those tools those tips that you use. I think it's extremely valuable for everyone. And I'm sure Caroline's happy to point out which cutter she uses and where to get it.
Where to get it from, and they're I don't know. I think they're just over $100 a piece, and we probably have a dozen out there because we use them so much. But it definitely is worth it.
Yeah,
it saves a lot of time on your wrists.
Sure, I can say anybody in decorating business, whether residential, commercial, would find this cutter useful from my perspective.
Yeah, and it's heavy.
Yes, I've used the cutter though, and you don't. I mean, it wears out. You're going to wear out your hand if you're doing a number of those.
For sure.
So preparing with something like that makes a lot of sense, and it looks like you could even bolt it down.
But you can bolt it down on a table, and also the blade is replaceable. So when they do get blunt, you can take them out and you can put a whole new blade in there. Because after a while, we usually change our blades out once a year.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But it's just a few things to help save time. Hopefully this has been of interest to you. For those that are listening, if you can go back and watch so you can actually see what we were doing. But let us know what you thought and give us your ideas for saving time.
Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking too. It's like, okay, what are those things that you're using? So please share. I think everyone will appreciate that. Again, for those of you who saw our first episode, this is about, bringing the professional community together of decorators and designers and helping everyone with their businesses. Tips, tricks, tools, anything that you're willing to share, we want to do that. Please let us know if you want to be on the podcast. We definitely want to interview as many people as we can. And we will be doing that over the next year. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks. Until the next podcast, enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you.